Good afternoon, Josette. How are you? You well?
I'm very well. Yes, I'm good, actually. Thank you. How are you?
I'm blessed, always, in always. Real pleasure to be talking to you ahead of the Netflix release of Anatomy of a Scandal, right? It's a proper British series exploring sexual consent scandal. For me, it had the raunch, the skullduggery, the backstabbing and more. And it's all set in and amongst the British elite. Without giving too much away, talk a little bit about your role as a defense lawyer and what drew you to the script.
Right. Well, my role is yes, I'm defending the protagonist who has been accused of a heinous crime. It's not giving a spoiler away to say that is rape. And I am defending him. And the case, the story really revolves around the whole issue of consent, privilege, the elite, entitlement. It's an incredibly powerful piece, and it explores topics that I think people will be talking about. It's very much of our time. To go back to what's attracted me to the script, and when the script arrived, it's in 6 parts. I'm in episodes 2 to 6, and when they arrived, I had just come back from filming something, a BBC job abroad, and it was quite late, and I thought, and the scripts had been couriered over, and I was going to read them and then respond. So I thought I'll just read episode 1, and then I'll do the rest tomorrow. And I saw episode 1. I was still sitting on my sofa in the early hours of the morning, plowing through every single episode because it's one of those page turners. And what drew me to the writing is brilliant. The characters are so finely drawn. It's a very hard-hitting and important piece. And it's incredibly thrilling in a good way. So absolutely drawn to it, 100%.
You touched on it already, a 6-part thriller, 6-part psychological thriller. You star alongside Sienna Miller, Rupert Friend, Michelle Dockery. Looked like there was a great chemistry amongst you guys. Talk about how you found it on set. Was it easy with the rest of the cast?
Oh, it was lovely. Such a great cast and great people. It doesn't always happen, I have to say. And the other thing about it was very female-heavy production, which is also quite unusual. The producers, the director, key heads in each department. It was a really great team, but we all got on really, really well. And one of the things about things like this is that when you have a subject that's really difficult and really dark and, upsetting, actually, in lots of ways, you often find that when you're offset, lunchtime or hanging around for age or whatever, that you laugh a lot. And it's not that you're trivializing the subject matter, because of course you're not, but it's almost like a release, because it is so visceral, and it really demands a lot of each character to kind of place yourself in that world. So you do laugh a lot. But the thing about this, the other members of the cast, Sienna and Michelle and Rupert and Naomi Scott, who's also in it, is that we were incredibly, we got on very, very well, but we're also incredibly respectful and admiring of each other's work. It was great. Everybody was, at the top of their game, wanting to do justice to this piece. And it was wonderful to just watch each other at work and just feel that everyone was giving their absolute best, as well as being really lovely people. I mean, you couldn't really ask for more than
that. With it being so dark, I wonder if there's a standout scene or a moment throughout that you're intrigued about seeing the reaction to in terms of the audience.
No, there's not a standout scene. No, because there are many standout scenes. I think the overall narrative through this story is something that will, I hope, we hope, hit an audience, just because of the themes and the topics that it throws up. I think today we have there are things that kind of touch on the Me Too movement. There are things that are very present at the moment in terms of people like Sarah Everard and And I think that it just throws up things that hopefully make people think, make people talk, make people question. So it's not so much one scene, it's how all the scenes unfold, and especially the court scenes, which Michelle and I really, that's where we go head to head. They're difficult scenes. And for my character in particular, who's defending this man who comes from a very elite background, he's very much a Tory, he's very much a entitled, privileged, Eton, Oxford boy who's had everything easy, whatever. I'm defending him, and the thing about being a QC is that it doesn't matter what you personally think. It doesn't matter what you think. It's your job is to win the case. So although that throws up certain things to my character, she doesn't bring them into court, because that's not how it works. If you're given a brief, like, you have to defend this person, everybody's entitled to a fair trial in the eyes of the law. And as a QC, you can't refuse a brief. So if you are given this brief to defend this man, and you have all sorts of personal feelings about it, doesn't come into it. The only thing that matters is to win. But you do see her off stage, or I say off stage, but in fact, in some ways, the court is kind of like a theatre. You do see her out of court with Michelle's character. They're both really good friends. They get on amazingly well and have these lovely scenes together. But when they're in court, all bets are off. But you do see a little bit of what Angela Regan thinks about having to defend people like Rupert's character, James Whitehouse. You see a tiny little glimmer.
Looking away from Anatomy of a Scandal, looking ahead in the year, I can see that you're involved in a BBC One 3-part series called Crossfire. The youngsters out there would say that you're doing the most right now. Tell me more. It's a story of survival and resilience set in a luxurious resort in the Canary Islands, right? Talk to me.
That's it, yeah. Great thing for me is that it's completely different to what I do in Anatomy of a Scandal. And what I like to do, as far as is possible, is to be very different in stuff. Because for me, that's always what an actor is, transforming yourself for a character, not rolling out the same old performance, regardless of what the details of each character might be, how different they may be. You're still doing the same thing every time. So it's very different. Now, and actually, when I read those scripts, I remember thinking, oh, this reminds me of something. Why does this remind me of something? And I remembered that a few years ago, about 6 years ago, in Tunisia, there were some people on holiday in a very similar kind of resort that we've all been to, or whatever, lying on their sun lounges, reading the book, kids are in the pool, someone's in the coffee bowl having a beer or whatever, and just ordinary people. And then suddenly all these shots ring out. And in the Tunisian one, there was an international people on holiday, but there were there's quite a large contingent of British people, and that's why it was all over the news, because a lot of them died, and so they were under attack by terrorists who suddenly descended on this ordinary holiday place, and just opened fire everywhere, and these people had to run for their lives. So this is set in the Canary Islands. It's not the same story. It's different in terms of who the actual gunmen are, but I won't say who they are because that's a spoiler. But nevertheless, the kind of story is quite similar. And we are 3 couples who've gone on holiday together. Some are with kids, some not. And we've all decided to go on holiday together. And we are doing exactly what I just said, just, chilling out, lying back, and then suddenly all these shots ring out. Everyone runs for their lives. They're all scattered because they haven't got time to go and find where their partners or kids are. And you see them as they all find somewhere to hide, and you see how the thing unfolds, and you see how psychologically each character responds. And then you get to the end, and some are not there anymore, and some are. But obviously, I'm not going to tell you that.
I know. I'm looking forward to it now. I've read a bit of the brief behind it, and
again, it's heart-stopping. I've happened to have done two incredibly sort of heart-stopping dramas
the back.
Yeah, but yeah, it's really, that was grueling to film. Oh my God, that was grueling. If you think that we laughed a lot on Anatomy of a Scandal because the situation, the subject matter was dark, Crossfire was a whole different ball game. It was so difficult to film.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that. I've seen the brief and it looks exciting. So I'm keen to see how that's executed. Really am. Yeah. I touched on it before this. You're doing the most. I have it on good authority that you are currently in the process of filming on Anansi Boys. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed, I am. Yeah.
I wrote about that today, actually, as it was announced that Whoopi Goldberg is involved.
Yes.
So how's that going?
Great. I play a very particular character. I don't actually get to see most of the cast, to be honest, just because of who I play, and I'm not involved in that sort of story. I play a very world-weary, dry-witted, seen it all before, worked very hard to get to where she is, chief superintendent, who's investigating a case within the story. Don't want to tell you what that is because I don't want to spoil that.
Okay, I wouldn't want you to spoil it for me, though. Yeah. But it looks there's a lot of big names involved, So I'm looking forward to that as well. That
really big cast, actually. Really, yeah. And actually,
what's
so lovely, what's so great about that is actually when you start a job, you go into the makeup shop, for a trailer, to do your makeup or whatever, and to talk about what you might look like. Although mine was very quick because I've got no hair to go, styling to go on, and the character doesn't wear much makeup, so that was easy. But nevertheless, you always have in the makeup and costume department, you always have all the people involved, all their kind of headshots along the wall with their characters who they're playing, so that people they know in the makeup and costume that they've got everybody, and it's always not nice opportunity to see who else is in it that you weren't aware of. I've never seen, first of all, such a long gallery of headshots, and I've never seen so many black people. I have never seen so many headshots of actors who are in the piece. Amazing, fantastic, brilliant, gorgeous.
It must make you feel good. I just to sit there, and if you've never seen it and you're looking across the room, you're like, must be a nice feeling.
Yeah, it's just that it's unusual. That's why.
It shouldn't be though, should it?
It shouldn't be. No, definitely not. No, it shouldn't.
We're on course to change things. Don't worry. You're lauded for your performance, your acclaimed performance as Cleopatra, right? And Anne Hathaway's right-hand witch in Disney's The Witches, and you were awarded an OBE some time ago. I wondered, looking across all the notes and seeing how busy you are now, and understanding that you still retain that fervor for what you do. How did that start though, and how do you retain it? Because I'm always conscious that I'm talking to what they refer to, and people who watch my interviews regularly will know this, Gen Z, right? Which I think is appalling, because what comes after that. But they're looking to aspire and attain some of the successes and the vast array of experiences that you've accrued. Mm-hmm. How do they retain that motivation? How did you do it?
Well, I do it because every job's different. Every job's different. Every character's different. You're only as good as your last character. I do. It's lovely that people talk about, things you've either just done or done before, and how well it was, and how claimed, and this, that, and the other, and that's great. But it doesn't matter in terms of what you're about to do next. You don't just sit on your laurels and just roll out. Everything is hard. A lot of people think that acting is really easy, and they kind of think of pantomime, or they think of celebrities doing some sort of, but acting actually is really difficult, especially when you play, really difficult, complex characters. It's not easy. So every time I start something, I just want to make it the absolute best that I can. And I'm never satisfied. So everything's always got to be better. Even when people are saying, oh, that's brilliant. Oh my God, what you've just done. Brilliant. No, I know that I'm still honing it. I'm trying to make it better. There's no harsher critic on this planet, except me, myself, and I. So I'm never satisfied. So in terms of retaining fervor, it's always to do with wanting to improve, always improving, always getting better, always making things better. So, and you start from a clean slate. You don't start from, oh, I was brilliant in that thing I've just finished. You think, well, that's finished. Now this is this. And I've got to work on this and try and make it as good as I possibly can. That's the only criteria. So the fervor is always there because you're always working hard.
What haven't you done that you want to do?
A musical?
Anyone in particular?
No, not necessarily. No, I like singing. I'm what you describe as an actor who can sing, rather than a singer. There are people who sing much better than me who do, and but I can sing. I sing around the house, and and people who
is
hear
that
me.
Is that the RSC way? Then is it
What do you
just
mean?
in terms of just that, because you've obviously come through RSC, and it's a standard there, isn't there? Or is it just something that you personally are able to execute as opposed to, a way you've been trained or where you've been trained?
What exactly? Sorry, I'm.
So the fact that you're an actor that can sing, and obviously that adds another string to your bow in terms of the work.
Oh no, it's got nothing to do with the RSC.
Right,
I know plenty of actors who can't sing.
Right.
And I'm not. That's not my thing. I'm an actor. Full stop. That's it. Full stop. That's what I do. I'm not an actor who can sing. I like singing. People hear me singing. They go, "Oh my goodness, you've got some." But musicals and things were never my interest because that's not me. I like heavy hitting, difficult, impossible stuff. Caused me a lot of grief because I'm like, oh God, this is so hard. But that's what I like to do. I like a challenge. But the only reason I mention it now is because I just like to surprise. People know me so much for like really, really kind of detailed, deep stuff. And it's like
and intense.
And intense, exactly. So it's like, do you know what? I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to do something completely different just to, so it's not so much that I'm not someone that I term myself an actor who can sing. I don't at all. I'm an actor. But I do like a challenge. So a big challenge for me would be to do something musical. So that would be great. But apart from that, I don't have, if I hadn't done Cleopatra, I probably would have said Cleopatra, but I've done that now. So I don't know. I just want really good work, challenging work. The criteria is always that it's something that makes you, I say to people, always do the thing that frightens you to death. Always do the thing that makes you want to run the other way and think, oh no, I can't do that. Always do that. So that's what I like to do. I want to find, I like to do things where I think, oh my God, this is so scary. I don't know if I can pull this off. That's what I want to do.
Well, back to Anatomy of a Scandal, and it's best-selling thriller by Louise Vaughan, right? So did you
No.
Is it not?
It's based on a book by Sarah Vaughan, and Crossfire is based on is written by Louise Doughty. That's Crossfire, and this is Sarah Vaughan.
I'm going to slap whoever sent me that. Very naughty. So did you get a chance to view the book?
I did. Yes, I did. Did
it help? That's what I'm asking. I know you probably have time to go and read the whole thing.
In some ways, I didn't. I mean, it was definitely worth reading. However, in the end, when you have a book that's been adapted for TV or film, then in the end, you have to go on that script. And if it's been adapted sympathetically from the book, then it will contain as much detail as the book. And so it's helpful in some ways. It's not unhelpful at all, but sometimes you need to have read the book, and sometimes you don't need to if the script has been done well enough, which this one was.
Yeah, I asked you because I just the other day I was speaking to Samuel L. and he starred in Ptolemy Gray, and it was Walter Mosley, and I got the opportunity to speak to Samuel L. about how much the book helped him in terms of delivering the role. So I guess it's different for different projects and different.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I have done projects where I definitely had to read the book. definitely, because that's going to provide so much substance. So my go-to thing would always be to read the book. But there are times when the script is so fully enhanced and so fully realized from the book that it can stand alone.
Looking forward to it. Anatomy of a Scandal, April 15th on Netflix. Is there anything else you would like to leave us with ahead of it?
Oh, God. Well, it's one of those projects. It's one of those stories where, of course, you can watch it week by week if you want to, but I'm guessing people are going to drop the whole lot and sit on their sofa and won't be getting up again until they've watched all 6 episodes. That's my prediction.
Well, if that happens, and I'm sure it will, it'll be a huge success. So
I hope people talk about the topics that come up. I think they're definitely worth having conversation with either families or relationships or people. I think it's a talking point that will throw out some really good things.